Hi, Tobe.
Hello, Jill. Coming in loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Coming in, I hear you loud and clear. Gosh, it's so funny because you're shrouded in darkness, wrapped up in a mystery, waiting to be told and discovered. Meanwhile, I'm like a deer in headlights here. Just it's like Cindy Brady on that quiz show, on that episode
Uh,
of the Brady Bunch where she froze.
well, it's moody all the time here, right? I'm kind of a moody soul, so that's what we get, especially after 6. Gets a little moody around here.
I gotta take a look. Is there still daylight? Is it dark? I don't know. I wake up when it's dark.
hmm
It
I mean, all I
becomes
need is a
dark.
cigarette right now, and then it have the full ambiance going,
You'd have to just step out of the shadows
like a little
to
flicker
drop
of a
information,
neon bulb
like
popping
the
overhead
smoking
periodically.
guy in X Files.
hmm
Very good. Very good. Well,
Uh,
what's been going on? I know you had a big night last night. We have a lot to cover tonight, but I want the audience to hear all about Olympic Strange Days live.
Live.
Live, live, live.
Okay, well, so like I said, we found the perfect little spot in Port Townsend, Washington. And what's great about Port Townsend, Washington, is that it's kind of like Halloween town. Everything turns Halloweenish, uh, all through October. So, like, they have a masquerade, they have an outdoor movie. You're next to all these crazy World War II bunkers, and they just really turn it on. It has the feel and the ambiance of a haunted town as it stands. And of course, then they have a castle, right? Like Manresa Castle. The old switcheroo is going on here.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Was
Okay.
that you?
No, I have a feeling it's our tech guy.
Okay, the old switcheroo by the
Okay.
old tech guy. We'll
Okay. I
blame the
just have to
ghost.
be mindful of where I turn my head.
I'll face you like this. Um, so yeah, we ended up clocking in around 5 o'clock in the afternoon to do a setup, and this was our first launch. So I didn't really want to advertise this hot and heavy as far as like doing anything other than Facebook. We hadn't attached it to other platforms. It was just YouTube, and the main reason is just because of the tech aspect of it. And let's face it, it's been a while since I've stepped up and done a live venue like that with all the tech solo. And so we worked out the kinks the first 10 minutes. I had Rich Germeau as guest number one show up. And we had a pretty, I mean, it's a smaller bar, historic bar. It's such a cool place. I've taken some photos of it as it stands. I found some old video actually from 2021 when it was under new ownership. And the video goes like this. I walk inside this place and I say, "Do you guys have any ghost?" And the owner's like, "Yeah, do you want to meet him?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. I wish I could show you the video." And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what. Last week we had a construction crew because we're doing a remodel here, and I gave him the keys because I was going to come in late. So they showed up, unlocked the door, got ready to go down to the basement, and heard Chinese voices downstairs. So they assumed that there were people already working, not associated with their contractor company. And so they're kind of bummed because someone maybe outbidded their offer and they left. And so the owner calls and just like, "Hey, why'd you guys leave? No one's down there." And it's like, yeah. We heard that you guys hired somebody. And it's just like, "We heard these Chinese guys down there working. So good luck to you, bub." Anyway, so that's where the Shanghai tunnels are. So he gave me a tour of this place. Now it's right next to the men's bathroom and the ladies' restroom. And boy, it's creepy. Like, I mean, you get the full on vibe. And, everything is these old, super old brickwork and dirt floors. And then there's this blocked off area that goes under Water Street, which would head out right to where the piers were. So everyone's kind of heard about this in Portland, right? You have your own version down there.
Yeah.
So just tell people a little bit about Shanghai tunnels because I know it's a little off topic, but I'm going to Shanghai the subject matter. What is a Shanghai tunnel?
Well, I love going off topic. So, okay,
Oh
for
my
those,
God.
in Portland and also especially in Astoria,
Yeah.
Oregon, these port towns, like when the boats would come in, when they needed crew members and whatnot, basically the bars had tunnels that went out to the docks, and they would get people really drunk or they'd drug them and they would move them through these tunnels, and you wake up with a wicked hangover on a ship out at sea, kind of like as an indentured servant, I guess, so
Yeah.
to speak. Um, yeah, and the ones in the Shanghai Tunnel in Portland is a bar. I think it's still there. It was a staple of my college life, and it is creepy. It is just downright creepy. Like there's an upstairs, and you go like the bar downstairs, and
Right.
then there's like a whole thing. And there's certain spots in Old Town Portland where the sidewalk has doors that open up, and they do these tours, like kind of
Right.
these Portland underground tours. Brett and Mike shot a music video down there, and
Yes.
they said it was just well. They came back. Brett was filthy, just absolutely covered in dirt, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, there was activity going on
Yeah.
when they were filming and whatnot." But those are what the Shanghai tunnels are. So a lot of
Yeah.
these
I mean, and
port
if you got
cities.
whacked over the head with like a billy club and a trap door opened up, sometimes they'd have glass or nails waiting for you after they took your shoes. And so there was no way for you to get out because the first thing I think they do is take your shoes, which is kind of interesting, right? Given all the missing 411 stuff about the shoes going missing, it would be the perfect way to keep someone from running through the forest or any kind of like, sharp angled edged atmosphere. So that's what they did. Um, we had some really interesting stories. I opened the floor after Rich left to the audience. We had some locals there, including the gals from Sufan, the Seattle version of MUFON, were there, and then Maureen Morgan, who, if you've ever been to any of the UFO conferences, she actually had a couple of Bigfoot events at a Quaker church in Port Townsend where Ron Moorhead attended. So she is interested in the subject matter, but she's pretty well informed and has quite a few relationships with other colleagues, like the muckety muck of the UFO world. And so she was actually front row, and she came specifically to kind of root on this being a monthly thing. And so I think it will be. We don't have a date set for the next thing coming up, but it might be having something to do with Maureen Morgan because she does know quite a bit about the local UFO scene. And if you haven't ever seen her speak, she's just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to sightings, abductions. She knows the science behind the UAP phenomena.
Isn't there like a really famous UFO sighting that took place up in your neck of the woods?
Well, so the biggest one, of course, is the Myy Island
Yes,
incident.
that's it.
And I think she knows quite a bit about that. Of course, then you have Kenneth Arnold up in Mount Rainier coining the phrase. But yeah, what people don't know about, and I actually did an episode, like a little, I used to call them strange strolls, where I'd go on these little tiny excursions. And so I took a strange stroll out to Myy Island, and there is quite a bit of provenance to this story that the FBI took this case very seriously about molten slag,
Mm.
right, coming off of these two or three ships that were floating over right near Seattle, West Seattle to be exact. And quite a few people saw this. The FBI took it serious. They sent up agents out of Olympia. Um, I don't know where everything got left off, but it was within the time frame of Kenneth Arnold's sighting too in Mount Rainier, where the term "flying saucers" was coined.
Interesting.
So it got me so interested in, not only the fact that, that we were. Today I took my own strange stroll, and I took Cooper looking for cave systems up behind my house here, what is called Wolf Creek. And
Mm.
so Wolf Creek is kind of an interesting spot because it is so remote. It actually heads up to the backside of Hurricane Ridge, which is a tourist spot for sure. But the Olympic Peninsula is so vast, and one of the main artery points here is the backside of what's called Slab Camp, which is an old gun range. So Cooper and I went up to Slab Camp in search of this supposed cave that exists up there. And we've been, it keeps coming up. It came up last night again about the cave systems, about this musty smell. I think Rich even mentioned that there was this smell that came out when he had a sighting of a real musty kind of smell. And this cave system stuff is fascinating to me. I mean, it came up in the Sierra Nevadas as well. So I've never found any particular evidence of Sasquatch in cave systems, except on one occasion when I was up near the Bohemia Mountains, and I saw. I guess it was a cave system. I thought it was a cave system, so we climbed up to it, and at the back of what was like this, I don't know, 15-foot broken piece of the mountain, you could step back into it, and there were woven pieces of grass kind of making a mat stuck at the back of this black rock.
Hmm.
And that was the only time I was just like, okay, there may be something to the idea that they're not only using shelters, but they're going into caves. So I don't know. If I find something, I'll film it for you all and post it.
What amazes me most, again, slightly off topic, is that Cooper has become your Sasquatch sidekick.
I feel like my Johnny Quest years have just started, and this is my little race. Was it no? What bandit? This is my little bandit, right? He kind of has the bandit look. So
With googly eyes.
with big googly
Googly eyes.
bandit eyes. Yeah. So we do our best Johnny Quest impression up there, and so it's a lot of fun. I never thought I'd have fun with a dog, but this is actually a really fun dog. He's fun like for 14 hours. Let's put it that way.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you'll keep us posted on the next when this is gonna
Absolutely. And it
drop.
probably,
Okay.
here's the deal is it won't be live online until it's ready to be live online again. It'll be a live venue that you can come to, but it will also be an edited, scaled down venue so we can put the highlights in there because there's a lot of, you know, downtime when you're doing something like this just based upon getting stuff ready for folks. So that's coming up in November.
Very good. Well, awesome. So, last week's interview or this past week's interview was shorter and it was almost kind of like had we wanted to, we could have included it with Harold and Cody's, but it needed to stand alone. And that's about Jose and the painting in question in A Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? I mean,
Well, Jose, when he does this painting for Harold, he commissioned it for Harold, right? Harold commissioned it.
yeah.
And he took notice of his artwork and said, "You're the man." And so he'd already been doing Bigfoot art. He was a fan of the subject matter. In fact, in the film or in the clip on YouTube, he says, "I'm the right man for the job." Like I love drawing Bigfoots, and he had some pre-drawn sketches of Sasquatch art, I believe Harold said. So he was like, "Cool, go for it, man. I commission you." And he goes out to the spot,
Mm-hmm.
does an actual field, recreation with them on how to draw it. But then he does something really interesting, is that he does a rendition, comic book style. And so you do pane by pane by pane or block by block as the transition happens of the figure turning into a plasmoid ball. But for whatever reason, I couldn't figure that out when he finished that painting. It's like, what does this remind me of? And I just couldn't put it together. Just like, oh my God, He's like doing a
I've
callback.
seen this before.
Right.
This
But I've never
approach.
been a comic book guy, and I think that probably is why. But did you catch on with that? That he was. You
Doing
did. Okay.
panels. Yeah, it was like a graphic
Yeah.
novel, but
So when
in
you
Sasquatch.
storyboard for a movie, are you doing that too, Jill?
Um, for action scenes and when the client requests, like, I need to see what it's gonna look like. It's
Yeah.
like, okay. No, but yeah, we do.
Mhm.
Not for, I mean, not for really basic stuff like the tree will be right over
Right.
here, but like when it involves moving vehicles and a lot of moving parts with people and
Hmm.
drones and stuff, yeah. Yeah, so it was pretty cool because when Harold kept saying it was hard to wrap our head around how Jose was going to do this because Harold's like, well, yeah, we had to paint a picture of it, and it's like, okay, well, what moment? What is that? Like this thing, going into the
Right.
fetal position and like is like a hologram, like you tilt it and you see like
No, it literally
Bigfoot
looked like the
bald.
thing from the thing. It'd be like
Yeah.
this amalgamation of body parts.
But what was cool also was just like you saw in the video and also in Jose's studio, all the sketches he did. Like
Hmm.
and Harold and Cody, they were sticklers. They were going back and forth. They're like, nope, it was more crouched like this. His
Right.
arms were like this. And they said they're like, yeah, that's what we saw.
And that's
That is
tough
what
for
we
the
saw.
artist too, because then you're getting into the imagination. It's tough to do commissioned work just from my angle, but he did it, right? Like, in fact, Harold even said, he goes, if the painting wasn't right, I wasn't gonna take it. He's just like, I wanted it to be right. So that's a
Hmm.
lot of pressure on Jose, but he just has such a good attitude about it, and I think it was just it pushed his imagination to a degree. It was just like, this is almost like a deep sea creature, like he does a lot of ocean paintings and
Yeah.
critters of the ocean paintings. So this is more like something you'd find at the bottom of the ocean.
Well, what was cool also is we were there when Jose dropped off the finished piece. So we got
That's
to see Harold's
crazy.
reaction, which is in the sequel,
Yeah.
and just that look of satisfaction that like he gets it. This is it. I can show this to people and walk them through what I saw. So that was it was cool to share that moment. And what was also really cool, I know you said you did a little digging around
Hmm.
the internet, but after we filmed Jose's interview and after the movie came out, Jose actually opened up an art gallery in Bandon where he lives, and I know they have a Facebook page. Do you have it? I,
I do. Yeah. It's the High Tide Art page in Bandon, Oregon. And I think if you just type in High Tide Art Jose Nunez, if you go to Jose's Facebook page, it links you up right there. And if you're ever in Bandon, home of the Cranberry Festival, let's go. One bog at a
woohoo!
time. 175 Second Street, Old Town Bandon.
And Bandon is such a cool area. And just a little bit of a recap for those of you who don't know. Stan Avery, the plumber from the first movie, he put together and hosted a screening for us at their local theater screening theater, yeah, theater space. And Brett was approached afterwards by someone who was like, you got to hear about this sighting that just happened, and there's a painting being done. So it's kind of like good old Stan Avery brought this one together. Um, but yeah, and Old Town Bandon is adorable, and it's just definitely if you're in Oregon or if you get the urge to travel, I suggest you go there because it is unlike any other part of the Oregon coast.
Stan Avery, the the braided bearded. Is that what it is? Braided, isn't it? He has a braided beard.
Sometimes
Yes.
Tobe,
Yes.
I totally forgot about this. Stan sent an email to us last week or this past week. Hold on. There have been some developments. There have been some developments in Bandon. Let's see here. Let me da 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 da. You okay? So they're talking like, oh, we saw the documentary pop up on Roku. You remember the dump you filmed where there have been so many sightings? Well, a friend of ours, who is also one of our elected county commissioners, I don't know if I'm supposed to disclose that, but I'm going to skip names. Uh, da, 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 da. Anyway, they were hanging out one evening on their new property where they plan to build next year, and were surprised to hear that they could only what could only be large and loud Bigfoot verbalizing. She even got into a hooting match with two or more Bigfoot up the hill. He contacted us afterwards admitting that Stan was right and the Bigfoot are very real.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay. Well, Stan is kind of like Daryl Wilson of the coastline. Like he's the story collector, and these guys are out there. I don't know what the version would be out here. I mean, maybe a little bit of me, but I don't do near the kind of work that Daryl does or Stan does. I mean, they
you
kind of
don't
take
do the
the
plumbing that Stan does.
they really do the archiving though. Like
Mm-hmm.
you catch Daryl walking around with his recorder, like he's totally immersed. Like that's all he's focused in on is that story, and so that's fantastic. I guess that's what we're trying to do out in Port Townsend is chronicle these in the same kind of way.
Yeah. And just to kind of, I just want to circle back a little bit before Jose, back to Harold and Cody's interview that posted. I don't know if you've been following some of the posts or the comments in the chat, but a lot of people are sharing that they have experienced similar like geometric shapes, things flying off, the shape shifting. And I was like, wow, this it's a smaller world, I guess, than we thought. Because where would you go to share this information? Who would you talk to?
Right.
We were contacted by, I'm gonna go by the nickname he gave me, Leo, and he said I could share this. As a matter of fact, he's like he wants to know about more people who've experienced this. He reached out to us. He said, I've experienced what Harold and Cody saw, and I was on the phone with them for about an hour. And as you know, like there's no such thing as a short Bigfoot story. The shorter average ones run about an hour 15 minutes. So technically it was a short Bigfoot call, I guess. But he had a wild sighting that was reminiscent of what Harold and Cody experienced. And he's like, you got to let Harold know. I need him to know that someone else has experienced it and
Mhm.
is going through the same stuff. So what happened to Leo was he's on the East Coast, is early dawn, just before daybreak. He was taking his dog for a walk. They went down to the beach, and it's still dark enough where, the light's starting to come up. He had a headlamp on, and he's kind of looking down the shoreline. I don't know, what do you say, maybe 25 yards away. It was close enough to see it, but he's like, oh, it looks like there's a sea turtle. There's something big. There's like a big sea turtle, and which is not uncommon for them in this area. He said, and then it stood up. It got up, and it was like crouched, like in kind of like in this hunched over fetal position. He's like, "What am I looking at?" So he shined the headlamp right at it. He said it looked like a baboon. He's like, it was like a monkey. It looked like a baboon, and it looked at him, and just like as that fast, it turned into. I want to say he said it turned into a square first, and then a sphere, and then it shot off over the ocean. And he was kind of dumbfounded. And as far as like looking for tracks or whatnot, or any kind of disturbance, it's such a traffic beach and whatnot. He couldn't make heads or tails, and he got freaked out, and he left. Now, mind you, this just happened a few months ago, and he had only told one other person about it, and that person was kind of dismissive, like, "Oh, that's crazy."
Yeah.
Okay, so he was really like just kind of going through. It's like, what did I see? What could it be? Why did I see it? What's going on? And then randomly, in his YouTube feed, a documentary popped up. I think it was not Gaia, but it was something about the ancient world and stuff. And they're getting into like Egyptian like magic and those characters. And there was an image that popped up. They're talking about Thoth. I'm gonna mispronounce it, so I'm gonna put that out there right now. But Hermes, Thoth,
Is
the
that like a
ibis.
bird god, like a hybrid with
Yeah,
like a
the
long,
ibis-headed.
yeah, emerald
Apparently, but
tablet?
shape-shifting god,
Yeah.
and it would shape-shift into a monkey as
Oh.
well. And there was a statue in the documentary that shows this monkey thing with this like golden orb circle over its head. And he's like, I don't know why or how this popped into my algorithm and my
Mhm.
feed. He's like, but when I saw that, and that was the only portion that like really popped up that he saw, just this a couple minutes worth.
Right.
He's like, it was like Roy Neary in Close Encounters. He's like, this means something. He just knew. He's like, this. I don't know what it is, but it means something. So he kind of filed that away and kept trying to figure out like, what does it mean? What does it mean? And then the Harold and Cody video popped up, and he saw it, and he was just like, there was a kinship. He's like, Harold needs to know. I need Harold to know that I saw this as well. So going back to the shape shifting monkey statue photo. So who can I'm thinking, who can I reach out to that can have insight on that?
Uh-oh. I know where this is going.
Well, yeah. So I reach out to Ira Wuthnason, who's also featured in our sequel. She's her past. She's former occultist, very well versed in all this. She's become a Christian since, but she had some interesting. Let me pull it up. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, here it is. Her response was, yes, an ibis and a long maned monkey. Yes, the crescent moon. That is Thoth, who's also Hermes Trismegistus, and something else I can't pronounce. And his female counterpart is Shashat,
Okay.
mispronounced. I have no idea what your friend's sighting was about, but if I had the chance, I would have asked if he had been studying something related to Thoth or Magica, wisdom streams, writing books, history, science of the ancient types. It doesn't sound like it. Uh, he also recorded the names of the dead as they weighed their hearts against a feather, the Book of the Dead. Thoth is an overwhelming part of the occult via mystery school disciplines and magica. Uh, Regarding the heart and feather, was your friend going through some difficult emotional times, or is he involved in communication of the esoteric studies? So I went ahead and sent that to, which I thought was okay, that's a
Hmm.
lot of information. I sent it off to him. I also put him in touch with some people in the Bigfoot research community who are high strangeness friendly, for lack of a better word. Um, Definitely, this is a case that you want the right people interacting with you on.
Hmm.
Uh, but he hasn't gotten back to me, so we'll see how he responds. But
Right. We might have scared him away.
yeah,
I
I thought
hope
it was
not.
pretty tame. I thought that was a pretty tame response. I mean, we really could
No,
have gone
but I
down the
mean,
rabbit
what's
hole.
fascinating is that I think I brought this up the other day with you when we were online and we were interviewing another guest, and I brought up the fact that I feel like these things were probably worshipped to some degree, to where there should be an idol or a bronze statue of something Sasquatch orient, and it sounds like that's a possibility here to some degree.
I don't know. I think there's just some weird similarities.
Hmm.
I don't think, and for me, like that whole discussion, and everyone who's listening, you'll just have to wait. You'll have to stand by because that interview is going to drop. That podcast interview will
Right.
drop shortly. Um, but I don't know if it's so much a situation of idolatry, but more of in people who had a deep respect and understanding
Yeah, but that's a
for.
fine line, Jill. Like, there's a reverence point to where worship takes over. And I'm not saying, I'm not blaming anybody, I mean, given what they can do, it's a lot like a god. And so I don't see how that doesn't happen to a degree. I think they're kind of freaked out that we're not worshiping them sometimes. Like, um,
Look what we
oh,
do for
I so
you.
much
Come
want to
on.
talk about the interview we did here. There were so many nuggets that we got out of one of these interviews. I was
Yeah.
just like, I've never heard that before. That's great. And I know this person really well, but it's just like, oh, that comes out of someone. Oh gosh, what's that show that Aaron likes to watch all the time?
Gossip Girl.
American Gods. Have you ever
Oh,
seen that?
yes.
Neil
I
Gaiman.
I'm familiar with it.
Okay.
Yes.
So the premise of, I believe I'm saying it right, American Gods, Neil Gaiman. It started off as a comic book, oddly enough, right? And but this is an important sidebar: is that these gods don't understand why they're not being worshipped anymore, so they're kind of dying off. Like there's Oster, who is like the goddess of Easter, and then there's like St. Patrick's, kind of like there's a leprechaun character, and there's Odin and Zeus. And as these gods kind of entertain the old days of when they were being worshipped, you know, it's all about attitude and egos. Like I'm the greater god, and I think there might be something. I don't know. It's I'm interested in the stuff that hasn't been talked about as it relates to Bigfoot, and I think these are one of the things that may need to be maybe pushed a little bit harder here as far as looking at idolatry with Sasquatch. I remember it was Wes Germer who brought something up on one of his shows regarding leaving offerings. He didn't
Mm.
call them offerings or gifts. Um, Basically, they were, you know, sacrifices of some kind, like personal things. Like the more personal item you left a Bigfoot, not like a sacrifice thing, but like, oh, here's money, or here's like something I need. So you're basically taking a pound of flesh out of your own personal life and offering it before these beings here, and greater the reward. Like maybe you will have a sighting, maybe you will experience healing of some kind. That hasn't been my experience with the phenomena. We can go down a lot of rabbit holes here, but in general, it's a very benign, hesitant experience and very fleeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the conversation just took a
Did
turn.
it? Are
Yeah.
people what are people saying?
No, I
We have
don't. I'm just talking about us
well,
here.
oh, we have more. We have 92 eyeballs. We had 80, so we struck a chord.
Uh, well, we can definitely, you know what, Tobe? We'll circle back to all that stuff, all the
Mm.
off-topic stuff later, where we can really go off the rails and stuff. But we'll keep it, we'll keep it tame for now, but not so tame. So there's more. So
Okay.
then, after the exchange with Ira and Leo,
Hmm.
Brett gets an email from someone. It's just very short, very X Files, the guy smoking in the dark vibe. Like it was very what was it? It was like I know what they're becoming, or I know why they shoot off into the ball of light
Now,
or
who said
whatever. But
this?
this email we got,
Okay.
and it was just it's so mysterious. It's like, call me if you want to know more. And
Oh,
so we're like, okay, I guess we're doing a phone call. This is all leading up to your show too, so we're just kind of like trying to wrap things up, in a timely manner. But so this is just to introduce another angle to all this. This person, now some of you aren't familiar with the theories of Dr. Matthew Johnson, but that's what he was contacting us with. Was And we have to be very careful about, he did not want any identity disclosed or whatnot, from him personally, but he
wait,
really
wait, hold
believed.
it. You lost me here. How is Doctor J involved with this?
This guy who contacted us, who's like, give me a call if you want to know what they're doing,
Yeah.
he was quoting and referencing a lot of Dr. Johnson's
Okay.
theories and experiences. Now, some of it made sense. Other stuff not so much. Um, but it's hard for me to say because I'm
Mhm.
not immersed in that community or section of the Bigfoot
So he's an old
world.
disciple of Dr. J, like he's been to Camp Janu, and then he's reciting what he was told from
It
Matt.
sounds like
Okay.
he's pretty well versed
Okay. Gotcha.
in the Janu experience, and he was sharing a lot of that. It got into some interesting things that kind of thread the needle between like what Harold and Cody experienced, and then like kind of what Ira's talking about.
Hmm.
So I need to sit with that and kind of do more research before I hang myself publicly trying to make sense of this. But I don't know. I don't know. It got into like the genre of like, well, some have the ability to travel this way by the
Hmm.
orbs and whatnot, and so maybe that's just how some of them travel. They turn into a flash of
Well,
beauty and they're
yeah.
gone.
I mean, it is godlike. I mean, these flashes of beauty here are very similar to. I mean, if you saw what Harold and Cody saw in the 1600s, you might be sainted or something like that. Like this is like a big moment in the church's eyes. We just don't have that point of view. This is when we need era, on a conversation here. Um, but I mean, it's. Well, wait a second here. We need to talk about Jose Nunez's um, his girlfriend or his wife that also had a sighting. Is Jose?
Yes.
Can we talk about that, or is that hush hush?
Um, Brett, let Brett pop
Okay.
in the chat because I don't know if we were trying. I don't know if we were trying to keep those stories separate
Okay.
or
Well, we
not.
don't have to go into detail, but I wonder if the fact that she had a sighting is related to the fact that this moment happened because that sighting was remarkable too. So I don't think there's any accidents in this phenomena. They put people together for certain times. And Brett, you chime in. I mean, I don't think Jose's journey with the subject matter is over by a long shot.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Here's the skinny, and nobody knows this yet. Jose is married to April, who had the Sasquatch sighting. Cat's out of the bag. Um, and the reason that we kept that quiet is simply because we didn't want the two stories to overlap and get confusing.
Hmm.
It's not a huge big secret, but we interviewed April for a Flashy Beauty Paranormal Bigfoot. That particular story was supposed to be in that film, but after I put the first cut of the film together, I didn't feel like it fit the
Hmm.
narrative because it was Bigfoot cryptid ish,
It's
if
more
you will.
biological than paranormal. It
Yeah, it was
felt.
more about
Yeah.
exactly. It was more biological than paranormal. I feel like at some point we can make a Bigfoot documentary about all the variations of Bigfoot that we keep hearing about. You know, the
Right.
skunk apes, the boogers, the hairy man, the otter man. Did anybody else out there know that there's an otter man in
Mhm.
Alaska?
No.
So that's why we didn't include it. But yeah, that if you guys haven't seen that yet, go back and watch Sasquatch. Um, it's more of a little short film with April, and it was a very profound experience. Yeah.
And okay, so now since it's all coming full circle now, and it's
Hmm.
it's a flash of beauty disclosure. Uh,
There we go.
April was the audience member at the screening in Bandon that Stan Avery hosted that approached Brett about Harold and Cody's sighting.
Oh, really? She brought it up,
Yes.
and she had her own story. So how long did that take to get out?
How long
I
did
mean, did she
April
mention
story?
I'm also a witness, and you got the
Yes.
same? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. She mentioned she was also a witness, but we did Mike and I did a Q and A. Jill was in the lobby. Mike and I did a
I
Q
was
and A for
selling
the audience
T-shirts.
members. Yeah. Yeah. Jill was selling, hawking t-shirts as usual. And so Mike and I did a Q and A on stage, and April and a friend of hers held back, and she's like, "I've got this story I've got to tell you." And we're always interested in hearing folks' stories, especially at screenings. We love to do screenings. We don't get to do them enough because we get a chance to interact with people. And so I said, okay, let's set up a call so we can talk about this. And I think it took us a couple of 3 weeks, didn't it, Jill, to
Hmm.
finally talk to April. And so we finally talked to her, and she tells us the story of Harold and Cody, and I'm like blown away by it. I mean, you imagine, you guys, when you saw the film and saw their testimonial, when you first heard about this thing, how crazy it was. That's how we were. And so Harold, was like, yeah, I'll talk to Brett and see. And he had done, like, I think one interview with somebody shortly after the experience, and it just didn't click right. And those of you who've watched the interview, I think he mentions that. And so, anyways, long story short, Harold and I had a conversation for like an hour. I can't remember if you were on that call or not initially, Jill. I don't think you were, actually.
Not on the
Maybe you
first
were.
call. I was
Um,
on when I was on the call when he decided to when he's like, my family wants me to talk to you.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's what it was. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, and we had this long call, and he's just like, "Look, I'm just an ordinary guy. I own a construction company. I'm doing well with my construction company. I don't need any publicity. It's probably bad for me." And he paused, and he's like, "But people need to know this stuff is out there."
Yeah.
And that's why he agreed to do the interview. That's it. That's the only reason. He did it as like his civil servitude, like,
His
and
PSA, his cryptid public
yeah.
service announcement.
And he's very
Oh,
honest about that. Like you could say
mhm.
that and it would be couched in some kind of motive, but he's very honest, just like, no, this is like people need to know this is yeah, this is a safety concern.
Yeah, well, it
Yeah.
is. It is, and it's kind of like the government talking about UAPs, and stuff like that. Because UAPs in controlled airspace could be very dangerous because
Right.
you have no control over these aircrafts. You could bring down a jetliner or whatever. Um, so there's, he has that concern. Other people have that concern. Um, and he wanted to get it out there. He's like, I'm going to do one interview. I know you guys will get it out there, and we feel like we've done it justice. And we've been overwhelmed with the amount of views that it's gotten. But it's an
Mhm.
important story, and these guys are absolutely 100% telling the truth. There's no question about it. There's no question in my mind he's telling the truth. And he said in subsequent talks on the phone, I've checked in with him just to see how he's doing. And he and his wife, Marianne, are amazing people. But they live way, way, way outside of Coquille, in the woods. And he's told me that, they've had unmarked helicopters flying very low over their house. They've had neighbor saw a UFO. I think Jill mentioned that last weekend or last show. Um, and they just keep having weird stuff happen. So
Well, didn't they
this
have
is
more than a
going on.
UFO experience? Didn't they have like a mothership, like a large UFO?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He had a large UFO, and the neighbors are hearing weird things. So this story is not over yet. This is some
Mhm.
sort of a power spot or gathering spot or something.
No, and I mean the reason I brought up April's sighting was just based upon where we started this conversation about something in the ocean that looked like a turtle and turned into a
Yeah,
ball of light. But as soon as I saw Jose sketching Bigfoot stuff before Harold entered his life, it's just like, well, he must have heard a lot of stories given where he lives. And I just don't think there's any mistakes going on with this phenomena. So that's exciting to hear that there. What about the? And you don't have to answer this, but the access to Harold, is that ongoing access? Because not too many people know how to get a hold of Harold. Only one person, as far as I know.
Well,
he's here.
I
He's
reached
hard to get a
out
hold of.
I reached out to relay this message from Leo and what he saw, you know, and I haven't gotten a response back,
Okay.
and it's been a couple days.
Okay.
And that is just a testament to people who do email and message us. We do our best to. It may take a while, but we will get to your email, and usually I will respond in a timely manner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're working on like 4 movies right now. That's not exaggeration. So I'm like,
Oh my
and
God.
then doing conferences and filming and
You're like Doc
stuff like
Brown
that.
by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get out of your show that I just
Well,
brought.
hold on. Don't leave quite yet, Brett, unless you have to.
No,
Um,
no,
I
no.
I wanted to bring up real quick. Unless Jill, you had something. Do you have anything else you want
We'll
to
get
add?
to it. Let's
Okay,
Brett's
I just
here.
wanted to bring up real quick Ryan in Canada. You and I talked yesterday about this interview on a different podcast going on right now, but it has a
Mm,
salacious title. But it's one of the most extraordinary encounter retellings that I've ever heard. Um, do you want to talk a bit about that? Because I feel like people need to hear this guy's story. There's really interesting details about plant medicine being ingested. Um, mind speak, other people in the community that the Bigfoots know about. And I don't
yeah.
think it's any of it's BS. Did you?
It's funny. I think we talked about this yesterday. That had we not been so deep in this
Right.
realm, and
Yeah.
we've interviewed hundreds of people so far, and you know what? If I'd seen this interview prior to that, then I probably would have laughed and
Right.
switched the video. But man, one thing that Jill and I know so well is that as filmmakers, it's hard to be writers. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's hard to make stuff up. You have to be really good at being a storyteller. And this is a guy that has so many nuanced details, and it's the nuanced details that are difficult for writers. He has so many nuanced details in his story that you're going, now, either this guy has put a massive amount of time into this to try and get attention, or he's telling the whole truth or figments of truth. People always exaggerate. That's part of storytelling to a certain extent. But yeah, Tobe, I was a little blown away. And the video that we're talking about, like you said, has this salacious title of "I had sex with a Sasquatch,"
Right.
which was horribly titled. And all of the comments are basically like, "This guy's a nut
Uh,
job," and
Right.
this is the horribly titled video. Um, we can't
And
recommend it
that part
enough.
is only mentioned like 2 minutes. This is
Yeah,
like an hour long confession.
yeah.
And here's the other crazy part is I haven't heard it all yet, but where I left off is that he just remembered it after all these years in like 2020, 2021, and this happened when he was a child and he looked like he's well into his 60s.
Well,
Oh.
let's not get too deep. He was
Okay.
an older teenager, not a child, but
Okay.
because
Right, right, okay.
let's
Hey, there,
So,
yeah, right. Easy now.
hey,
Come on.
hey.
yeah,
Right. Let's keep
let's
it legal. Hey,
let's
oh,
back let's
So,
back. We're not that type of
right.
live
Don't
stream.
demonetize us. Whoa, Bigfoot. What are you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah, yeah. No, but yeah, he was a scout. He was in BC. Um, I don't know. Check it
Yeah.
out. See what you guys think because there's a lot of crazy details in there.
Allegedly. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, check it out. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. It's on Sasquatch Odyssey. And I
That's
mean,
what. Yeah.
uh, kudos to the podcast host keeping a straight face. Now, it's edited together kind of clippy. And I think
Hmm.
that's to the detriment of the story. I'd like to hear the whole thing, unclipped like that. But the kids like it clipped nowadays. And but we're not doing any clipping.
Nope. I'm peacing out, you guys.
All right.
See you later. Bye.
see ya.
All right, what's next there,
What
Agenda
a
Jill?
surprise! What a surprise that was. Uh,
Right.
um, so hey, let's talk about. So, did we mention in last week's show that we were about going to visit Sonia?
Um, I don't think that we said we're going. Oh no, did we mention we're
I
gonna go
can't.
visit Sonia?
I
I
can't
don't
remember,
remember.
but so yeah, just this past Sunday, Tobe, myself, Mike, and Brett, we sat with Sonia for probably, I don't know, about 5 hours. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it was around 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, we spent the better part of the afternoon with her, and she still had a lot of things she wanted to share. So certain things she wanted to kind of set the record straight. Some points that she felt that she really needed to drive home. That
Mm,
she hadn't really pushed
Mm-hmm.
in the past, and so allowed us to film her last interview.
You know, as her body may be failing her, her spirit is, it's easier to see. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's getting stronger, right? Like her spirit came alive on camera in a way that, just exciting to see that still there.
Yeah,
But it was tough. I mean, it was a tough interview physically for her because it's tough to talk long form like that and have people in your space while you're convalescing.
yeah.
And so, but you're so good, and Brett's so good in a way that I'm not, because he's dealt with this before. But you know, it was good to have kind of someone in the room that helped helped us all. But you had a fabulous gift for her, and she really appreciated the gift that you gave her. And we talked a little bit about that on camera too. I'm sure she's probably sitting there with that gift in her hand right now, in her bed. But it's not the last that you've heard of Sonia, and maybe some way, somehow, we'll get her out in the woods one last time so she can see her old haunts.
Yeah.
And I still believe in miracles, and boy, oh boy, that would be one heck of a miracle. So just keep Sonia Zohar. There's not too many Zohars in the world, by the way. Keep her in your prayers, and just watch some old interviews of her in her heyday.
Well, and I talked to her this afternoon,
Hmm.
and because I talked to her about, it's like, how do you want us to release your interview? Is there a sense of urgency? Should we wait? Do you have a certain like day you want this to go on our channel and stuff? And she's like, just do as you see fit. And for me personally, and this is what I told her, I feel it should be put out soon. So just in case there's that one person who has that one piece of information, that one piece of the puzzle that can give her that aha, that's what I was looking for. Just, to put the full picture together. I wanted her to have that opportunity in case there was anyone who had anything to share with her.
Hmm.
And then, I asked her, I was like, we don't need to do this, but, we run ads during the videos. And she's like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, we don't need to. But if we did, is there a group that we can support in your name,
Hmm.
or a foundation? And she lit up, and she has an organization. She's talking to them just to figure out how we can do this and get it cleared. But when she told
Oh,
me
that's
about it,
great.
I was just like, oh, this is amazing. So we're just waiting to hear back from her. And I
Hmm.
think actually when we get done with the live stream, I'm gonna watch her interview just to proof it and make sure, because there were some sensitive parts that
Oh,
we
okay.
decided needed to come out and whatnot. That yeah. So that's kind of my assignment after the live stream.
So
That
this
we
is this is coming real soon to YouTube.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
we want we
Hmm.
I personally, I want her to have the opportunity to interact with
Right.
anyone who has, you know information or ideas or thoughts.
Yeah, as long as she's down for it, I say that's the perfect decision. And the neat thing was, is that when we met her, you had feedback, or you had the comments kind of printed up. Was that you and Ashley that did that, or did?
Ashley, lifesaver. She went through and she pulled about, gosh, I had about like 10 pages of just really just beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
supportive, positive comments
Mm-hmm.
that I wasn't sure whether or not she saw. And one that didn't get included was just from like a day or two prior, where it was like a marriage proposal,
Right.
and she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, hey,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
still
Yeah.
got it."
All
but
right. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. She was like, "Hey, even from the hospital bed, they've still got it."
and
Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, her spirit's so strong, and
Yeah.
just
But how cool it would be for her, because she watches. She did never had a TV when I knew her, before, and now she's got a TV because she has some downtime, and so she is watching a lot of YouTube videos. So you can better believe it that she'll be on her iPad looking at comments, and for her, it's just going to mean the world as far as just having this back and forth because she is really into this still. Like, she's got a lot going on, but this still just means the world to her. I mean, it
yeah,
profoundly affected her life.
absolutely, in the best way possible.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, and we're really excited to be able to support a group that's really been supporting her in these final weeks. So that will be coming soon.
I love it. Well, that's great to hear. Now, next week. Oh, wait. Before we talk about next week, um, you're headed out the door tomorrow. Where are
Tomorrow
you
morning,
headed? Yeah. Where are you going?
we are going up to the Yakama Bigfoot Conference, which is a great festival or conference, I should say, up in is it? It's in
Ellensburg or Yakima? One of the two.
yeah. It's like it's at Legends Casino. Let's put it that way, in the Yakima area. And let's see here, Elaine Miles will be there, so that will be fun. Elaine's there. Jeff Meldrum, Dr. Meldrum will be there.
Right.
Um, Controversial guest Matt Moneymaker will be there.
Mhm.
Barb will be there. That will be fun, and because we just spoke with her the other day, so
Now,
I'm
I don't
looking.
want to give anything away here. So, Barb, if you're listening and watching here, I'm not going to spill the beans.
Blah
But
blah blah.
Barb was doing, we had a phone call with Barb not too long ago. And shortly after that phone call, um, she found something in one of her videos. Now, I think she's got it in her presentation. It's pretty amazing. And so you're going to want to see what Barb has to present. So Barb has over 250,000 views on YouTube for her cloaker. I think it's around 250.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot. Um, so she's headed
Okay.
up the charts here. So people really want to, hear what she has to say and see her footage. And so this one she showed me yesterday. It's hard to unsee. I've thought a lot about it. And so, yeah, you definitely want to check out Barb stuff.
Was that okay? And I'm not Barb. No
Barb,
spoilers here.
simmer
But
down. We're not going
is
there.
this the photo that was in the that chat that we that she shared? Is that? Are you talking
You
about
mean when,
something
when we
else?
talked to her?
Yeah. Or
No.
afterwards, like in the something shared in the chat.
Oh, well, I don't know what she sent it to me privately, so I didn't see a chat.
Okay.
But she found it through scrubbing the footage a little bit, just like, oh no, now I see something. And I thought, well, I see it too. It's kind of hard to unsee. So
Okay. Okay.
anyway, it should be good. And the fact is that you have some big hitters there. Matt Moneymaker does not do Bigfoot conferences, and he's got a big presence, and so that's a big amphitheater too. You need a big presence. Like it's not a small like veteran stage at the VFW. This is a big stage,
Yeah.
and so you need kind of a big presence. And Meldrum and him, I'm sure they can fill the seats. I will be kind of shocked if it's not packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the folks at Legends Casino, they were kind enough. They actually gave us the adjacent, like, not a banquet room, but it's an adjacent room where we'll be able to screen both our documentaries throughout the day, and also when we're not showing the docs, we'll be filming interviews.
Oh,
So we're pretty excited about that.
well, the last thing I'll say is tomorrow morning, we're headed up to the area where they had a recent sighting in the Olympic Peninsula that Matt posted on the BFRO. We talked about it a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be in the neighborhood. There's actually a gal that showed up yesterday in Port Townsend and confirmed some of the suspicions we had about the area. So we'll see what happens. We've had people on the ground since Monday. They're going to be there a week. And so a storm system's moving in, but rain or shine, we're gonna go out there and slunk around in the woods.
Very good.
All right.
Alrighty. That's all I got. Is there anything else? Are we forgetting anything?
No, I see your red orb in the background there, and red
Oh yeah.
orbs is
Oh,
usually
whoops.
there.
Yeah.
We go. Now it's matchy match.
Now, here's what I'm looking forward to. Next week, our next live stream is
Oh
Halloween.
gosh, it's costume.
And I still don't have a costume.
Well, you were doing this earlier. What about just like
I could be
wire
could
in
be
there?
long stocking or the girl at Wendy's. I could
Yes.
be like just throw hamburgers at
Isn't that
people.
what you do when you're running out the door and you don't have a costume? Is a couple freckles, some spray paint on the pigtails?
Do you know what? Gosh, for a
Maybe I
while I
should
had
do
one of these fake crows that you buy at the craft store, and I just attached. This is when Portlandia was doing the put a
that. Oh,
bird on it,
that's
and
right.
I just attached it to a headband. So I just had
I
this
like it.
crow on my
It's like,
head.
yeah, that's just like the female version of Willard.
I like to keep it simple, but
Yeah.
okay, I'll come up with something. I'm not ready to drop like the $300 on the extreme Black Widow
Oh,
cosplay outfit like a few years ago. I was about ready to go all
I
in with
bet you
them.
can get a really good uh, costume at Spirit for like 50% off right now. So I'm gonna run to Spirit tomorrow. I'll dress up like Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker, so we can get the best ratings possible. And
Okay, crap. What am I gonna be? You guys, if you're in the chat and have ideas, I need them. I need
okay,
them.
yeah,
And
give us some ideas.
next week, I'll wait to say it next week. But it's going to be that time of year. Tobe, I don't know if you were a part of the Jill Remensnyder homemade Christmas card cluster F that went down last year. Were you a part of that?
No, was there an
Around
what was that?
around this
A
time
real
last
scandal,
year,
real
I was
Christmas card
feeling
scandal.
no, this is typical Jill. Um, I was feeling like super creative, and I was like, I'm gonna make all my Christmas cards by hand. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, scrap happy.
And so then I was feeling extra overconfident, and I made a post on Facebook. I'm like, hey, if you want an original Jill Christmas card, just message me your address. Well, a lot more people requested them than I expected, and I was like, "Oh boy, okay." Well,
Mm.
I put it off till about like the week of maybe a week or two before Christmas, and like I'm still finding glitter like embedded in our carpet. So I haven't, and I just found the leftover glitter this morning. I was like, "Oh, it's that time of year." No coincidences. So maybe next week I'll put the official call out for anyone who wants a homemade
Oh, I like it.
Jill R. Bigfoot themed. Oh, I'm really just putting myself out here. Bigfoot, Sasquatch themed.
Like you don't have enough going on. Now you're going to be responsible for
Oh, it's gonna
personalized.
be neurotic.
Oh
People are
my
gonna be
gosh.
like,
You're
in the cards I
stressing me
sent out
out here and
last
I don't
year.
even have to do it.
It looked like I like kicked the door down to like a daycare and gave like 4-year-olds glitter and glue and paint and was like, create art for me. And these people
Nothing
probably
but
got their
paste on your
cards.
face.
People are just like,
Mhm.
oh, this Jill, she's she tried,
Bless
but
her heart.
yeah, bless her heart. We'll wait
Bless her
till
heart.
we're wrapping up Halloween before I shift into Christmas mode.
Free psychic readings, Jill's house. Enjoy.
Hey, I'm gonna put this in the window for the trick or treaters. So
Oh, see, that would be a good one. You should just dress up like as like a full on archetype of a psychic with like the whole thing.
I gotta work an eye patch in. I do really
An
well
eye
with
patch.
prop
Okay.
comedy. I'm kind of like Carrot Top.
Okay.
So give me a eye patch and like a pirate sword. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll
All right.
figure it out.
Surprise me.
Okay.